Are you preparing for physics practical exam? Come closer. Let me teach you what your teacher may not teach you. First thing that you're being evaluated in practical physics is what we call observation. Observation talks about your table of value or your table of reading. Let's assume in an experiment that you're given mass. You will first of all draw a table and write mass. Mass is a fundamental quantity. Therefore, you must enclose each unit in brackets. Very, very important. If you have the values of this mass as, let's say, 10.00, 20.00, 30.00, what can you see here? You leave your values in 2 decimal places. That is readings gotten from the apparatus. You leave it in 2 decimal places. Let's assume that you're asked to measure time again. You write time, T. T is a fundamental quantity. Therefore, you must enclose each unit in a bracket. Because time is measured from a stopwatch, which is as well an apparatus that is being given. You leave it in 2 decimal places. This is assumption. Let's assume these are my values. I will leave them in 2 decimal places. If I now have T, T stands in for period. Period is not a fundamental quantity, but it has a unit. But you can put the unit. If you fail to put the unit, there won't be any deduction of mark because it is a drive quantity. For us to get the value of period, we make use of our calculator. Therefore, we call them calculated values. Calculated values, we leave them in 3 decimal places. Let's assume that the period here is 1.456, and this is 3.758, and this is 4.346. You leave them in 3 decimal places. What if you're asked to find log T? Log T is a drive quantity, so there's no need for the unit. As well, you don't even know the unit of log T. So you leave it that way. For us to get log T, we'll make use of calculator. Therefore, it is a calculated value. You leave them in what? 3 decimal places. Let's assume that log this is 0.348, 1.365, 2.346. Remember, these are all assumptions, not the real value. So you leave calculated values in 3 decimal places, while the readings gotten from the apparatus, you leave them in 2 decimal places. All your table must be like this. It is called composite table. Composite table is 1 mark. Let's assume after a practical, this very column could not enter, and you decided to write it down here. That means you're losing 1 mark. What you're going to do, just cross it and draw the table once again. Your value in physics experiment can either be in decreasing order or ascending order, except if you're conducting an experiment using a triangular prism. So your value must be in either increasing or decreasing order. You must as well be consistent with your decimal places. You don't just leave it in 1 decimal place and you now come here and leave this in 2 decimal places. That will be inconsistency in decimal places and it will attract a deduction. In my next class, I'll give you more tips on how to plot graph in physics. Bye.